We just had a very nice endorsement from RFK Jr, Bobby. And I'll be talking about that. We're heading out right after this. We're going to be going to Arizona. We'll be talking about that and a lot of other things, too. But I just want to thank everybody. And I want to thank Bobby. That was very nice. That was really very nice. That's big. He's a great guy, respected by everybody.
In the battleground states, I would likely hand the election over to the Democrats, with whom I disagree on the most existential issues: censorship, war, and chronic disease. Oh, I want everyone to know that I am not terminating my campaign. I am simply suspending it and not ending it. My name, my name will remain on the ballot in most states. If you live in a blue state, you can vote for me without harming or helping President Trump or Vice President Harris. In red states, the same will apply. I encourage you to vote for me. And if enough of you do vote for me, and neither of the major party candidates win 270 votes, which is quite possible. In fact, today our polling shows them tying at 269 to 269. And I could conceivably still end up in the White House in a contingent election. But in about 10 battleground states where my presence would be a spoiler, I'm going to remove my name. And I've already started that process and urge voters not to vote for me. It's with a sense of victory and not defeat that I'm suspending my campaign activities. Not only did we do the impossible by collecting 1 million signatures, we changed the national political conversation forever. Chronic disease, free speech, government corruption, breaking our addiction to war have moved to the center of politics. I can say to all who have worked so hard in the last year and a half, thank you for a job well done. 3 great causes drove me to enter this race in the first place, primarily. And these are the principal causes that persuaded me to leave the Democratic Party and run as an independent, and now to throw my support to President Trump. The causes were free speech, the war in Ukraine, and the war on our children. I've already described some of my personal experiences and struggles with the government's censorship industrial complex. I want to say a word about the Ukraine war. The military-industrial complex has provided us with a familiar comic book justification like they do on every war.
Monitoring this from RFK Jr.,
This
but
one is a noble effort to
that
stop
was
a supervillain,
so
Vladimir Putin,
much.
Invading the Ukraine and then to thwart his Hitler-like march across Europe. In fact, tiny Ukraine is a proxy in a geopolitical struggle.
Doug High with us, as well as Johanna Maska. She's the host of the Press Advance podcast. She's a former Obama White House director of Press Advance. He's talking about wanting, and we've seen a press filing or a court filing in Pennsylvania. Yeah. So he's saying that he's taking himself off of these ballot access challenges in states where he would be a spoiler, right? Mm-hmm. These battleground states, like, tell me if I've got this right, mm-hmm. Doug. But when it comes to a red state or a blue state, you can sort of, if you want to vote for him, you can then register how you feel about him. And then in the crazy possible chance of a 269 tie between Trump and Harris, then maybe he can just ride that all the way to the White House?
All right, join us now, the former governor of Arkansas and 2016 presidential candidate, the great Mike Huckabee. Governor, good to see you. Thanks for being with us. Again, this presidential cycle is wild. You know, you wait a day or a week and things are changing all the time. But it's interesting because I think that RFK is running against the system, whether it's, the government, big food, big government, big military. And so, too, is Donald Trump. I have to believe that this is a measurable endorsement that we'll see in the polls.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is my friend because he recognizes that the government is corrupt to the bone. And the reason that the establishment of Washington hates Donald Trump so much is because he's not one of them. Neither is RFK Jr. And I think it's interesting that the degree to which they hate Trump is part of the reason they don't like him either. They don't control him. I don't agree with everything that RFK Jr. does, but I've met with him, I've talked with him. I got nothing but respect for him because even on areas where we disagree, I'm going to tell you something. He's a person of courage and conviction. He doesn't take political convenience positions. He takes positions that he really believes in, and he does his homework. So I'm thrilled that he's decided to support President Trump. I think it will help Trump win the election. And right now we need all the help we can get. And I hope President Trump puts him in a position in the cabinet that will give him the opportunity to do exactly what he really wants to do, and that's root out some of the evil that exists in our deep state. It's disgusting. It steps all over people. And if you want to unify this country, let's unify this country for ordinary working class people against the folks who are in the donor class who have run this system for a long time and have doggone near destroyed it.
Tonight, I'm very pleased to welcome a man who has been an incredible champion for so many of these values that we all share, and we've shared them for a long time. I don't think too many of you people have heard of him. He's very low-key. He's a very low-key person, but he's highly respected. He is a great person. I've known him for so long. For the past 16 months, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
A few hours after the assassination attempt at Butler, I got a call from a safe food advocate named Kelly Means, who's been fighting for many years to try to end the corruption at CDC and FDA and USDA. And these institutions, these regulatory agencies, are actually run by the big food processing companies, the big ag and the chemical companies that they're supposed to regulate. And he said to me that he'd been advising me for many years and on my campaign. And he told me that night that he was also advising President Trump. And he asked if I would talk to President Trump. And I said, of course. And about a few minutes later, I got a call from the president. And we talked. We had a very good talk. And then he invited me to come see him the next day. And I went to Minneapolis and saw him. We met again a couple of weeks later in Florida. And we talked not about the things that separate us, because we don't agree on everything, but on the values and the issues that bind us together. And one of the issues that he talked about was having safe food and ending the chronic disease epidemic. Our children are now the unhealthiest, sickest children in the world. Don't you want healthy children? And don't you want the chemicals out of our food? And don't you want the regulatory agencies to be free from corporate corruption? And that's what President Trump told me that he wanted. He also told me that he wanted to end the grip of the neocons on U.S. foreign policy. He said he didn't want any more $200 billion wars in Ukraine, that we could use that money back here in the United States. And the best way to build a safe America is to rebuild our industrial base and rebuild the middle class in this country. And don't you want a president who's going to get us out of the wars and who's going to rebuild the middle class in this country?